Hi folks, it's Mark Smith, making my second video of the day. I put a different jacket on and different glasses on just to spice up the presentation a little bit. I'm going to talk today. This is going to be a fun video for me. I don't know if you're going to like it, but several months ago I was down in Bloomington, Indiana on a lake, and somebody sent me a link from a woman named Dr. Michelle Fleming, and she was talking about the concept of PTSD isn't a disorder, it's a reorder, a reordering, if you will, a healing, a reshuffling of the brain. And I have a long quote from her. I'm going to comment on that. Then I have some killer poetry. It's killer poetry because it isn't mine. There's a poem by a person named Teryn O'Brian. I don't know if it's a woman or a man, but it's a killer poem. I got a little something from Pearl S. Buck I wanted to share in poetry. And then I have two quotes from Pete Walker's book about complex PTSD. And then I have a quote about Waking the Tiger, Peter Levine's book. So this is a treasure trove of goodies, and we're going to start with the concept that complex PTSD is not a psychological disease. It's not a disorder. You're not crazy. It's actually a healing, reordering of your system. Dr. Michelle Fleming wrote, "Life has caused many of you to feel beaten down. Ain't that the truth? When you falter and you experience damage, too often you can be labeled with mental illness or with a disorder, when in fact you are having natural responses to unnatural circumstances." In my family, with my siblings, the word crazy was used with me. There were fellas in my men's group who saw some off-the-charts PTSD. I'm pretty sure they thought I was mentally unbalanced and crazy. But I like how she says that you're having a natural response to some unnatural circumstances. Your brain is organized, your experience shape your brain, whether that's good or whether that's bad. In response to traumatic events, the amazing design of your brain enables you to respond when an immediate danger is present. And that response is there to save your life. So let's change the language, Dr. Fleming writes, because post-traumatic stress, by a neurological standpoint, is not a disorder. It is a reordering of your neutral networks and pathways and your sensory pathways so that you can survive in dangerous situations. When I was shattered, my brain got scrambled. The world was a terrifying place. I was living in the mouth of a crocodile, and she took a big old chomp out of me. Didn't see it coming. This reordering is a natural response to your environment, whether the trauma was ongoing child abuse, rape, natural disaster, combat, or the number one and most prevalent form of the circumstances leading to complex PTSD, we all know, who watching this channel, is Narcissistic Abuse Syndrome. Being eaten alive by crazy-ass vampire crocodiles. Your brain is designed to gather information from your five senses and quickly tell you how to react. Fear triggers, for example, result in split-second body changes, which help you to defend against danger, giving you a fight or flight response, which is intended to protect you from harm. The body releases stress hormones, which cause an increase in your pupil size so you can take in more information through your eyes. Your heart rate is increased, so more oxygen will be pumped into your muscles and into your brain. Even more glucose is released so that your organs are supplied with sufficient energy. This intelligent design so you can rapidly run away or confront danger. This is not a disorder. This is a natural response and a reordering based on unnatural circumstances of prolonged periods of time in dangerous situations where hypervigilance is necessary to keep yourself alive. Peter Levine says that trauma is like there's a tiger in the room, a man-eating, scary tiger. I was so impressed by Peter Levine's description, and it resonated so much. I got a big scary tiger tattooed on my heart. That just reminds me of those unnatural scares. Maybe I'll get me a crocodile with a little bird. I think maybe I will get a tattoo of that crocodile with the bird in his mouth. Oh, I'm running out of places to put tattoos, but that sounds like a good one. Dr. Fleming writes, when your sensory systems become overwhelmed and sensitized regularly, you become easily triggered so that you see and hear things through a filter, and you become hypervigilant and hyper-aroused. This causes pain and stress to the ones suffering and to the family members who love them. One of my daughters is training in social work, and she's learning you can't always judge a person by how they behave. They may, she mentioned a fella, she works at a swimming pool, and a guy seemed sort of cranky. He always wanted the sound turned down. But in reality, he worked around music, and the music was so loud and so often that he was traumatized. Squirrel attack! Squirrel! And so when he went to the pool, he was looking for sanctuary and haven. And so when she understood who he was and what his wounds were, she was able to give him respect and honor his boundaries, which he was highly impressed by. So it's going to affect your family members. This same daughter was the one I took on a cruise, and she was exposed to the rawest gamma rays of my early on nuclear post-traumatic stress reactions. She wasn't quite as enlightened then to not take it personally, but she was walking in the light she had, and I was awfully offensive. You experience this pain through your soul, your mind, your will, and emotions. Therefore, the struggle that you face is in your thought life, your beliefs and expectations, your emotional ups and downs, and the life skill responses and behaviors that you operate in. So, we're not crazy. We're not damaged beyond repair. We don't have a DSM-3 diagnosis. It would help us insurance-wise someday if we do. Because we have emotional up and downs, that doesn't make us a borderline. These are symptoms of complex PTSD. It's not borderline personality disorder. It might look like borderline personality disorder temporarily, but it's all about the symptoms of complex PTSD. I'll get to some good quotes by Pete Walker, but now I want to read this this wonderful poem by Teryn O'Brian, written on the 11th day of November of 2014. It's called Fight for Your Heart. When the world crushes you with dream-killing deceit, ripping back the curtains of reality. Boy, isn't that true? Pull back the curtains of reality, you're in the mouth of a crocodile. Ripping back the curtains of reality to show the trickster lurking in the shadows, promising happiness and home, yet offering emptiness in the end. Fight for your heart. When the world laughs at you in a soul-draining circle as you stand in the middle, feeling alone and awkward, different because you're strange, and they never let you forget it. Fight for your heart, dear friends. When the world breaks your love in glass-shattering pain, and the chest throbs with the splinters of rejection and happily never afters. In this messy world, so unlike the fairy tales of youth, fight for your heart. When the world steals your cherished ones in bone-chilling finality before you even get to say goodbye, and you feel the aching chasm and weep with the anguish of light extinguished by the overwhelming darkness of tragedy unspeakable. Despite it all, fight for your heart. I'm going to read it again. When the world crushes you with dream-killing deceit, ripping back the curtains of reality to show you the trickster, lurking in the shadows, promising happiness and home, yet offering emptiness instead in the end. When that happens, fight for your heart. When the world laughs at you in a soul-draining circle, they call you crazy. You stand in the middle, feeling alone, feeling awkward, feeling very, very awkward, very different, because you are strange, and they never let you forget it. Fight for your heart then, my dear friends. When the world breaks your love in glass-shattering pain, and your chest throbs, as most of our chest did throb, with the splinters of rejection and happily never afters in this messy world, so unlike the fairy tales of youth as we stood at the altar and we believed that we were going to just be in love forever and everything was going to be peachy. Fight for your heart then, my dear friends. When the world steals your cherished ones, even if your cherished one is a big old 5,000-pound crocodile, if that's been your home, if you've been living in their mouth, it's bone-chilling finality before you get to say goodbye and get proper closure. And you feel the aching chasm and weep in the anguish of light that has been extinguished by the overwhelming darkness of tragedy unspeakable. Despite it all, fight for your heart, my dear friends. Fight for your heart. Fight for your recovery. Be tenacious. Be Superman. Have courage. Put one foot in front of another. If you got to make yourself exercise, get yourself off the couch, make yourself do it. Got to make yourself go to church. Got to make yourself text a friend. Got to make yourself read a book. I'm going to get to Pete Walker's book on complex PTSD. I went to the beach about a month ago just to work on my recovery. And I'm not a reader, but I've made myself sit there soaking in the waves at my feet reading that book. This next one isn't really about recovery, it's about creativity. And I guess it's more of an expression of my goal with you is I want to sort of create a piece of art when I share. That's why I've got the pretty backgrounds and the poetry. I want you to be not only stirred in your heart, I want to make you cry, I want to cry with you, but I want to reach out and I want to touch your soul. So this poem is about sort of my strategy in doing that. The truly creative mind in any field is no more than this. It's a human creature born abnormally, inhumanly sensitive. To him, a touch is a blow, a sound is a noise, a misfortune is a tragedy, a joy is an ecstasy, a friend is a lover, and a lover is a god. And failure is death. Add to this cruelly delicate organism the overpowering necessity to create, so that without the creating of music or poetry or books or building or something of meaning, his very breath is cut off from him. He must create, he must pour out creation by some strange unknown inward urgency. He is not really alive unless he is creating. Pearl S. Buck. I'm going to read it again. I'm going to commentate. The truly creative mind in any field is no more than this, a human creature born abnormally, inhumanly sensitive. Some of us are doubly blessed. We have complex PTSD and we are highly creative. To him or her, a touch is a blow. A sound is a noise, a misfortune is a tragedy, a joy is an ecstasy, a friend is a lover is a god, and failure is death. What is a shattering from complex post-traumatic stress disorder and narcissistic abuse? If a touch is a blow, a shattering is, there's no words for how big it is, how hurtful it is, what it does to your soul. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Add to this cruelly delicate organism the overpowering necessity to create. So without the creating of music or poetry or books or buildings or something of meaning like YouTube videos, his very breath is cut off from him. He must create. He must pour out creation by some strange unknown inward urgency. Is not really alive unless he is creating. So I missed being able to make videos this past couple of months. I knew it wasn't the right timing. I wouldn't be able to deliver a helpful message, and I needed to devote time, frankly, to some addictive behavior, but mainly to trying to dig out of the hole and crawl out of the crocodile's mouth. But I come with some fresh insight and some fresh wounds that I hope will be a blessing to you. Now we're moving on to Pete Walker, Complex PTSD. One of the quotes that I read as I sat at the beach was this: "It was the grace of a deep surrender into weeping, a long sobbing release more soothing than anything that I had ever experienced before. I knew I wanted more of those incredibly healing tears." If you interact with narcissistic beings and they take a chunk out of you, if you don't cry, you're not healing. If you don't have the capacity to deep process and experience what Pete Walker calls long sobbing releases, more soothing than anything you had experienced, then I don't think you're even in recovery. I think you're still hiding behind walls. This wise man, Pete Walker, he's telling you how to get better. Long sobbing tears. Another quote that I liked of his was, "In the absence of parental loving interest and engagement, especially in the first few years, creates an overwhelming sense of emptiness for the infant, for the young child. Life feels like a horrible place for the toddler who is left for long periods without comfort or care. Children are helpless and powerless for a long time, and when they sense that nobody really has their back, they feel scared. They feel miserable. They feel disheartened. Much of the constant anxiety that adult survivors live in is still this aching fear that comes from having been so frighteningly abandoned. These tears are coming up from that little boy in me who I could feel him as an infant sitting out in the backyard, just so afraid. So terrified because I didn't have a tether, I didn't have an anchor. I want to encourage you guys to read Pete Walker's book on complex PTSD, From Trauma to Healing. I gotta include some Peter Levine if we're talking about shifting the paradigm from pathologizing PTSD to normalizing it. Peter Levine's the man. If you haven't read Waking the Tiger, you gotta download it and read Waking the Tiger. Peter Levine was talking about teaching on PTSD more than any of these recent video makers. They don't deserve to pick his jock up, I'm afraid, my friends, especially me. But in an Amazon.com description of Waking the Tiger, it said it offers a new and hopeful vision of trauma. It views the human animal as a unique being endowed with an instinctual capacity. It asks and answers an intriguing question: why are animals in the wild, though threatened routinely, why are they rarely traumatized? By understanding the dynamics that make wild animals virtually immune to traumatic symptoms, the mystery of human trauma is revealed. So, Peter Levine studies llamas being tracked down by panthers and by tigers and lions, and studies the behavior of trapped animals. Waking the Tiger normalizes the symptoms of trauma and the steps needed to beat them. People are often traumatized by seemingly ordinary experiences. The reader is taken on a guided tour of the subtle yet powerful impulses that govern our responses to overwhelming life events. Peter Levine, I think, is the world's foremost expert on healing trauma. So here's your homework: Waking the Tiger by Peter Levine, or Healing Trauma by Peter Levine. Pete Walker's book on complex PTSD. Google Michelle Fleming and see what she has to say about reordering versus seeing PTSD as a disorder, and then look up the wonderful poet Teryn, Teryn O'Brian. So I'm just pointing you in direction where you can dig out some more riches. Part of this reordering, my friends, is your brain gets reordered. My office at work is reordered. It's just gorgeous, and it's bigger. I got a bigger room, and I just feel so blessed and so at home. I've never felt so at home in my home. I reshuffled some things around. It's just so homey and so lovely, and I think my brain has been reorganized. I'm investing in things that I love. Wednesday and Friday I played 4 hours, 4 long games of full court basketball with a bunch of 27-year-olds, and I left just feeling joy in every particle, every molecule of my body. Didn't play real well the second day, but I played good enough, and I had a blast. And I've been enjoying the bread and butter of just doing quality marital therapy with these key insights that if you're in the mouth of a crocodile, it ain't about the crocodile. It's about the silly little bird who crawled in there looking for food. I love you guys. Please tune in to our live feed. We have a live feed where we have 2, 3, 4 members of our staff at Family Tree, including Jerry Wise, Renda Hall, Karen Smith, Jennifer Dorr, Andy Holzman. We have a new associate, Peg Nicodemus, coming on board. We have Mr. Pauly in the house. We have Zara, the Wonder Dog. So if you haven't joined our YouTube channel, please do that. Subscribe and visit familytreecounseling.com. We got 300 articles on various things for free. I have books on abandonment and shame and upon affair recovery and marital issues, and I also have 3 extended cut, raw, powerful videos on narcissistic abuse syndrome healing. I'm going to go have dinner with my daughters tonight. I'm going to get up and work out in the morning and then watch my beloved Cowboys whoop them some butt. Thank you for watching today, folks, and God bless.